Hey everybody. So a lot of students across the nation have been led by the amazing student activists in Parkland, Florida, have been organizing walkouts and protests and things like that to try to get Congress to move on gun legislation, common sense gun reform, and there's been a lot of pushback against these kids. I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook and other social media where people are criticizing and saying, instead of walking out for 17 minutes, why don't you talk to 17 kids that you would never normally talk to, or spend 17 minutes with a kid that don't know, and talking about other things. And I just think it has this underlying assumption that the students that are participating in these walkouts and in these things are not genuine, that they're part of the problem, that they're the ones that are bullying kids, and that they're the ones who are causing people to feel a lack of comfort in schools. And I'm kind of sick of seeing the national dialogue disparage youth as being the problem and the catalyst for these school shootings, and putting the blame on the student environment. Of course, there's always going to be issues of the school environment and the role that students play in that, and bullying and things like that. But that responsibility is on parents and educators. That's not the responsibility of students, right? To be able to fix those systems. Like, every person is accountable for their own actions, but if there's a widespread problem of bullying at a school, that is the problem of the parents and the staff. That's what they're allowing to take place, what kind of culture they're fostering in the building and things like that. And so I'm really sick of seeing the youth be put in this position where it's like, what you're doing isn't real, isn't enough, doesn't matter, when, as we've already seen across this nation, we have seen politicians change their position on gun legislation. We have seen companies change their policies about who they sell weapons to and what kind of weapons they sell. We've seen all types of changes take place across this nation already from student-led protests. So don't tell me and don't tell them that their protest doesn't matter. There's a lot of people that feel like protest doesn't do anything and walking out doesn't do anything, but it does. It builds movement, it builds buy-in, it gets students that on the margins involved and plugged in to other activists and resources to be able to bring about change. Nothing, like almost everything that we have in this nation today, in the workforce and rights that we have, all of those things were done through protest. So I think it's really disingenuous in a nation that was built and made better consistently through protest, is telling kids that their protest doesn't matter and that their 17-minute walkout is meaningless and all those things, when they're not on the ground. They don't know what's happening with students. They don't know that students are organizing in those 17 minutes to have discussion circles with other students about what can they do and get involved with, and how can they try to make policy change. A lot of these kids are going to be voting, and some people are doing voter registration drives during that 17-minute window, and continuing it afterwards. And so I urge everybody to have some caution with how you talk about student protests, especially if you're not involved in seeing what youth are doing on a daily basis to bring about change, because I guarantee you our youth in this country are doing more to bring real change to this country and a positive environment for everybody than the vast majority of the adults. So instead of complaining about what youth are doing, I encourage you to do something to yourself. Get involved and write your legislators, get involved in registering people to vote, to be able to change the politicians that are preventing change from happening. Get involved in your school, volunteer to work with youth and to help them bring about a more just environment in their school and in their communities and ultimately in our nation. So thanks for listening, and to all the youth that are rocking our world right now, keep up the fight. No matter what people say against you, you are changing things, and you are our present. You're not our future. You are present when it comes to being change makers. So much love. We'll see you next week.